Peter Hain.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Could I apologise to the House, first of all, by saying that I have to leave pretty well straight after I've sat down to go to Cardiff to join battle with the Shadow Welsh Secretary on Question Time tonight, so I apologise for not being here for the wind-ups. I was very grateful that the Secretary of State, my right honourable friend, did respond positively to my request that he look into the funding crisis that South Wales Police have. I would suggest, however, that the problem lies more at the Welsh end than in the Westminster end in respect of the meeting that he might be attending, and I do hope that those who made the decision will reverse it in Wales. Another one of the policy areas where decision-making remains with Westminster is, of course, broadcasting, Mr. Deputy Speaker, and I think it's important that this House gives proper attention to the impact on audiences in Wales of decisions on the future of public service broadcasting that have to be taken by ministers in coming months. There is, I think, room for considerable concern, and I'm very grateful that, as my honourable friend, the member for Aberavon, reported, the Welsh Affairs Committee is going to look into this matter. ITV said publicly that the cost of its public service obligations will exceed the benefits of being a public service broadcaster either in Wales, earlier in Wales than in Scotland or in Northern Ireland. In other words, the situation is more serious in Wales. In January this year, ITV Wales reduced its news output to 4 hours a week and its general programming for Wales to a mere 90 minutes a week. Only a few years ago, its general programming amounted to nearly 7 hours a week. There's no certainty that even that 90 minutes, that hour and a half, will last more than a year or two, so we could go to nothing from just 7 years, as from just 7 hours a week a few years ago. At the same time, I understand that BBC Wales is having to find savings of £3 million a year for the next 5 years that is bound to restrict the ambition and range of what it makes for Welsh viewers, including, of course, the ending of BBC 2W. Taken together, this represents, I believe, a shocking reduction in service for Welsh viewers. And the Assembly's Broadcasting Advisory Group has calculated that between 2006 and 2013, the annual value of English language programmes made for Wales will have reduced by more than £20 million. There's a great danger that it will become permanent. This prospect raises economic and cultural issues for us in Wales, as well as questions about the role of television in our democracy. There are some welcome conclusions in Ofcom's final report on its public service broadcasting review, as there are in Lord Carter's interim report, Digital Britain. In particular, I welcome the support for the continuation of S4C, the recognition that we must retain a strong and viable competitor for the BBC in Welsh news, and Lord Carter's suggestion that we should plan for a digital universal service commitment by 2012. And I know that this is an issue that my right honourable friend, who also has a brief for digital inclusion, is looking at. But I have to say that neither Ofcom nor Lord Carter seem to have given sufficient weight to the issue of general programming made for audiences in the nations. Indeed, Lord Carter's report does not address the issue at all, concentrating solely on the provision of news and production quotas for the UK networks. Ofcom recounts the proposals made by various bodies in the nations, including the Welsh Assembly Government and its Broadcasting Advisory Group, but makes no firm recommendation on these proposals. And since 1982, there's been an honourable provision made for the Welsh-speaking audience through S4C, which has provided a wide range of programmes, and successive governments have given this greater care and attention. We must now show equal care and attention to the programme service for the majority of non-Welsh speaking audience in Wales, because most Welsh viewers, of course, speak English rather than Welsh. Indeed, 80% of Welsh viewers. Unless something is done, we could soon be faced, I believe, with a situation where the BBC is the only provider of general programmes in English for Wales, and even that is on a downward curve. Assuming the survival of Welsh news on ITV, this would mean that in future, English language programmes made specifically for the audience in Wales will be totally dominated by news and sport, leaving only 10% of the output for drama, music, arts, factual and light entertainment programmes. By comparison, S4C's service devotes about 40% of its output to news, current affairs and sport, and 60%, that is 10 times, English language provision on BBC to other and elsewhere to other programmes. So I think it's important that that we share the view conveyed to Ofcom by the Welsh Assembly Government that, and I quote, "this is not a defensible proposition for a developed national community that brings to the table the sort of cultural legacy that Wales commands." And I close the quote. One of the successes of devolution, Mr. Deputy Speaker, is it's given a greater focus to cultural policy. The fact that our actors and singers and poets and artists are getting unprecedented attention is of huge value to Wales as a whole. We've all cheered at the success of Doctor Who and Torchwood, Michael Sheen, and of course Duffy, who had those marvellous Brit Awards last week. But in television, we must not allow the soil in which many of these creative talents are grown to be carted away and dumped. Coronation Street is important to us all, but especially to the people of the north of England. The same can be said to East Enders for the people of London. They're both a permanent presence in people's lives, but I gather that last year there were only 4 hours of television drama in English made specifically for the audience in Wales by BBC Wales, including, of course, the excellent Coal House. Drama has long disappeared entirely from ITV Wales's service. The same sad picture could be painted in comedy and light entertainment. And on the question of funding, there are options for funding, and I hope that the Secretary of State and my honourable friend will look at this in the Wales office. There are options for funding that might solve this problem that do not further impinge on the public purse. For example, the use of proceeds from the sale of spectrum, following the switch off of analogue transmission, possible use too of that part of the licence fee that is dedicated to the digital switchover campaign, which will of course end in Wales at the end of this year. Mr. Deputy Speaker, the audience in Wales deserves better than all of this, a declining English language general programming provision, very sharply declining. And I hope that whatever decisions are made in the coming months, that the restoration and development of a fully adequate English language programme service for Wales will get a high priority. I'm fully supportive of the move towards the development of high-speed broadband services, but the fact is that traditional television will be a major factor in people's lives for some years to come, and probably in many respects forever. People in Wales deserve a full reflection of their lives on television in English as well as in Welsh.